Greetings and welcome to In-Depth. I'm Dike Rostant. Now, at this year's PanAfrican Festival, Ideas I Foundation, the championed recycling efforts and oversaw the ESC's first educational green zone. We're very happy to be speaking with a director of Ideas I Foundation, Talya Mohammed, and one of their partners, Island Innovation Ambassador, Ancel Bhagwandeen. Thank you so much for joining us. I want to start off with you, please, Ms. Mohammed. Give us an idea or an overview of what Ideas I Foundation is about.
So Ideas I Foundation was started in 2017 with the aim of trying to approach gaps in the climate, environmental, and socioeconomic sector with regard to the work that nonprofits perform in that capacity. So we really wanted to ensure that we could support the Sustainable Development Goals and the implementation, as well as the measurement of those goals, which it's very important for reporting at the compliance level and at the country level, as well as we really had a passion for youth work and supporting young people in their pursuits of becoming more focused in their careers and how they manage their education. And very specifically, we had a program that was designed called Know Our Money, which has since been revamped and includes a much more view of the knowing your money in the view of environmental management and climate change. So the new program is called Know Our Money in the Circular Economy, which we came up with about right after COVID. We decided that we needed to include more information in that program, which includes also a workbook. So we really wanted to focus on doing specific type of education with young people, and of course, help bring our friends and family together in the nonprofit community to really have targeted work to support the SDGs in Trinidad and Tobago, compliance especially, and for reporting. And that's in a nutshell.
And it would be really interesting to find out how people can get their hands on that workbook, how people can avail themselves of the information. That's something that we'll get into in a little bit. But looking at ways that food insecurity can be addressed is something that you are also very much engaged in, Mr. Bhagwandeen. So even looking at the virtual real estate behind you, give us a little idea of Soloponics and some of the things that you have been engaged in or engaged in at the Pan-African Festival and even beyond that, thanks.
Great. Well, great to be here with everyone. So today, what you see behind me is something we call Soloponics here. It's developed in Trinidad and Tobago. And what it really is a system, a mini tower garden, we call it, that's meant to be, of course, solar operated with digital automation so that you can grow crops at home, at school, at the office, wherever you may be, without the need for arable land or power, no plumbing, no wiring, just a level surface, and you're actually growing crops. So the whole purpose of this, the whole concept behind this innovation, which has been around a little while, is to address climate change, climate adaptability, of course, the ever-present food security or insecurity as we have in our area, in the region, and with the challenges that are faced because the average person doesn't have time really to spend in, let's say, farming the land. And really what we need to leverage in this country and others is the human resource, our human capital. If most people can have access to an appliance, let's call it an appliance like this around their house or apartment, and it's growing food for them automatically and yielding as you pick and harvesting as you need. There's no transportation cost, there's no shipping cost, there's no plastic packaging, there's no fruit bruising, there's no pesticide. It's at your fingertips at cost. So these units are deployed right now into the school sector, right, in Trinidad and Tobago, sponsored by the energy sector mainly. Earlier this year, this Soloponics innovation placed first in the Caribbean for technology innovation regarding sustainable energy. So it's recognized all over the Caribbean, as well as some interest from Tanzania and Uganda at this time. So that's what it is in a nutshell. And we hope to, deploy these things into the country and regionally to benefit the people sustainably with climate adaptability in mind.
And I like how I see you nodding, Ms. Mohammed. But just before, I want to crack open that nut a little bit, because even looking at that, the image behind you, Mr. Bhagwandeen, as a reference point, I'm wondering what kind of produce can this unit sustain? Is it needs to be a certain height, it needs to be a certain weight? Is it that if it's starting to bear fruit like possibly tomatoes, will that be an issue in terms of will it pull out? So give me an idea what kind of crops you've dealt with, or what's the potential for dealing with at this point? Thank you.
Well, one of the novelties of this system is it addresses all the essential crops. That includes the tomatoes and peppers that you mentioned there. Of course, the leafy greens that we're all familiar with, the lettuce, the seasonings, and so on. But what makes this novel and different is that as of this week, I believe it's at the La Brea Police Youth Club, we expect to deploy the first ground provision staple crop unit. So in addition to what you see in that image, it will be delivering your eddos, your dasheen, your beetroot, and so forth as a crop at your fingertips. Now, of course, if you want to grow fruiting crops like tomatoes, you'll see in the image behind me a little trellis at the top of one of the units. Those are tie points for the fruiting crops if you want to go with the peppers and vegetables like those. So what we're talking about is a complete package. Root crops, fruiting crops, leafy greens, all automated, all solar powered, all at your fingertips whenever you need it.
And I think this is a lovely opportunity to speak to the role and function of Ideas I Foundation, Ms. Mohammed, in the sense of this system is a tangible item. How do you get this tangible item, this resource, to the hands of individuals who don't necessarily know about it, or just help to create some of that networking? Because sometimes when you're right in front of one thing, you're tinkering with your product, making sure that it's the best it can be. I don't really have time, or I really don't necessarily want to talk to this amount of people. How does Ideas I Foundation come into the equation on that?
Well, one thing we have recognized, and we have seen a spur of innovation camps, hubs, ways that SMEs and innovators and entrepreneurs could access finances and funding to develop their product. But what we've recognized as a challenge is the capacity of the SMEs themselves is not being solved by this. And where we know we have been helping to fill gaps, and that's why we were very fortunate to interact with Ancel some more than a few months ago through one of our partners, which is MIC as well, to support that part of it, which is the networking, the marketing, the outreach. And that was one of the very good opportunities that was created at the PanAfrican Festival 2023 when they approached the organization to support recycling. But they also love the idea of having the educational green zone. And Nadia and I, Nadia Rudder, my business partner and partner in crime, we spoke about that, and even ourselves not having so much capacity, we still thought it was a good opportunity to have Soloponics on display, and some other green partners like Flying Tree, and which I know that you're well acquainted with Flying Tree and Central Pathfinders and Captain Turner, to have these green items on display for the general public, which I think goes a very, very long way when it comes to marketing. But it really is dependent on the type of patrons that you have at your events And that is something that Ideas Eye is also going to be supporting, where we were introduced and got the attention of the Ministry of Tourism, Culture and Arts, with our support to Green Festival. And we've been asked, to come in and discuss with them how we could support these types of greening of the festivals and different types of national events, but not just on the back end with recycling, as well as, the opportunities Republic Bank offered at the Pan-African Festival with having wireless payments through Encash. All these types of activities to make an event go green is important to showcase what we have available on the market in Trinidad, as well as part of the event. So it was a very good opportunity to get feedback from the general public on Soloponics, which was amazing. And we'll share some images with you on how it was just fascinating to see people walk past the booth and stop at the Soloponics Tower and be amazed, because they have seen grow towers before, as Ancel mentioned. But what Ancel has done is innovated on the concept of the grow tower to make it more accessible, easily, readily, not just available, where you could just get this unit with the solar power, but so accessible for people who don't have big space, as well as giving them the power. I think the issue with food security right now is not that we don't have access, like some other countries, to food, but it's the quality of the food that we have access to.
I think this is a good time as any to take a short break. We're actually speaking with Island Innovation Ambassador Ancel Bhagwandeen, as well as one of the directors for Ideas Eye Foundation, Ms. Talya Mohammed. Stay with us. We'll return with more. Welcome back. We are very happy to be speaking about things that address filling gaps, making connections, addressing food security / insecurity. We're doing this with Ancel Bhagwandeen as well as Talya Mohammed, and I say Island Innovation Ambassador / the Island Eye Foundation, respectively. But I asked the question of how do you help to bridge some of those gaps? And let me throw that to you as well, please, Mr. Bhagwandeen. Who are some of the partners that are helping? Now, both of you would have mentioned MIC. I know there's something with regard to, is it reclaiming or reusing batteries? So
That's
even
right.
like the way, areas that you would be sourcing materials from as well to help kind of scale this effort up. Who are some of the partners on this journey with you?
Well, in that regard, we actually have I'll start with the far-flung one, a transatlantic partner out of Tanzania, Africa, which sort of aligns with the African Festival as well. Mr. Gibson Kawago is running an entity over there, and he shared the technology from Tanzania with us here in Trinidad and Tobago to upcycle, as opposed to recycle, scrap laptop batteries into the Soloponics device for battery storage and power. So we're harvesting batteries from the public, the school sector is a primary source, recertifying them and incorporating them. So we are actually reducing waste while we are creating this sustainable product. Now, further to that, the Island Innovation entity is celebrating its 5th anniversary of Virtual Island Summit this year in September. And it's a zero carbon conference with world-class experts talking about the 17 Sustainable Development Goals and so forth. And the summit will emphasize the need for input and partnerships from across the private, public, academic, and NGO sectors. No, registration is free, of course, so you'll see it online at islandinnovation.co. However, we have almost a dozen ambassadors from Trinidad and Tobago in there doing different things. So there's an opportunity for Trinbagonians to be a part of and see what's happening at the ground level for sustainability with a global impact. And of course, we can't be remiss. We must mention our partners in the energy sector. I mean, most recently, Gas sponsored the unit that was actually at the Pan-African Festival for the St. Mary's Home for Children. And just before that, we had Point Lisa's Nitrogen Limited, as well as Atlantic LNG. So all the energy sector partners, and I think coming up would be NGC, are getting involved to help get these devices, these products into the hands of the schools, the youth clubs, the communities, and so on. And it will be available for retail very shortly via MIC.
Thank you for that. And sometimes it seems as though there's this groundswell, so things are happening a little more, and momentum is building up, but we still need to have an idea of figures, statistics. Some people still need to be shocked into action. And with that in mind, I believe that CARICOM would have recently commissioned a report. And you have some startling figures from that, Ms. Mohammed.
Yes, I've been trying to get the details of the report, but from all reports that I've received, the food and nutrition study has indicated that we're approximately 50% food insecure in the region. And that is a startling number, given how much we know the potential of our Caribbean region to produce food. So it correlates with the high food import bill you hear every year, at least for Trinidad and Tobago, and why that is happening directly due to not having access to our own local food being produced regionally.
And sometimes it makes me wonder, is it a matter of there's no food, or because we have been acclimatized, acculturated to certain types of food, all right, so I want that even though this is available. So even are those some of the conversations that we need to be having as well, Ms. Mohammed?
Yes, so that is one of the reasons why when we saw Ancel's product, which it's a very easy tool to be practical, to do practical teaching on. And part of the No Money in the Circular Economy is engaging the young people, not only on how, when they do have that ability to spend their own money and to make green conscious decisions, and it's called green consumerism, that from the beginning now, when we teach them agri-entrepreneurship and green entrepreneurship, with the Soloponics unit being able to teach on agri-entrepreneurship as well, that they recognize how easy and simple it is for them to grow their own food. And it's remarkable how when you teach kids from, of course, what we learn as young people shape us into the adults and decisions we make in the future. And this social pathway that we have to take to change the mindsets, it needs to start at the school level and at that level in order for us to generate leaders that will make these decisions for our country in the future. So it really has this knock-on effect, like what we say in economics, to ensure that we set up Trinidad and Tobago for a brighter future with people who would make decisions aligned to what capacity and resources we have. And we have the resources and capacity with our neighbors to produce more healthy and nutritious food and have it available locally for everybody to especially have a positive and more focused impact on our health, because of course there's a impact on health as well when you don't have access to safe and nutritious food. So that's the point of making sure that we could collaborate and get these ideas out and generated in a way that actually has social and economic impact on the country.
Indeed. Dike, just let me interject here.
And interject, and the final minute is yours.
Thank you. Naprima College in San Fernando will be demonstrating leadership in terms of its students, its senior students, via their Interact Club, assisting the National Center for Persons with Disabilities, that's just down the road from them, who just received 6 of our Tower Gardens on Friday past. So what we have there are young leaders being created to assist the other citizens of their age group in Trinidad and Tobago who are less fortunate, but able to help themselves. So we are creating leadership here with education as well.
And looking at creating that leadership and doing so in a manner that really empowers, because sometimes you have leaders who are able to use power from outside of a space as opposed to being in a space and being that rising tide that floats all boats. And we want to thank you very much, both of you, Director of Ideas I Foundation, Talya Mohammed, as well as Island Innovation Ambassador Ancel Bhagwandeen. And I think we're going to be doing like Oliver Twist and asking for a little more, so we can actually zoom into the individual efforts that you're doing. But this has been In Depth with me, Dike Rostant, on behalf of the entire TTT News team. Thank you so much for joining us.